Everyone is wrong about the best country to actually live in. They optimize for money, status, power. But the real metric is something else. And by that metric, this tiny country in Europe might actually be number one. Slovenia.
Slovenia.
Small, beautiful country in Central Europe.
Slovenia has everything you could possibly want.
Slovenia is Central Europe, not Balkan.
Luka Doncic with a fadeaway three.
Pičku mater. Sorry.
You see, I was born here and lived here most of my life, so I am slightly biased. I'll just say that up front. But I also lived abroad for 5 years. And during that time, I realized that what I actually value in a country is life per square kilometer. But let's start with how people actually think about this question. Where's the best place for me to live? You ask a few people and most likely get answers like the USA, Switzerland, Scandinavian countries, and honestly, those aren't bad answers. And they will change by what is important to the person you ask, of course. But these are just answers to different questions, like where's the best place to get rich and famous?
I'm talking about this.
Or which country has the strongest passport, best healthcare system, and not exactly would I really, genuinely want to live here. So I sat down and actually tried to figure this one out. Where would I like to wake up each morning? I started with my favorite places, like California, Pacific Northwest, New Zealand, Northern Spain, the Canary Islands. And those places truly are amazing. You know, they do tick a lot of boxes for me. They're close to the coast, have mountains, great scenery, diversity, weather isn't extreme in any direction. So if you put me there, I'd probably be happy for a while. But then I started thinking more practically, and the problem actually kept coming up. So you get to California, and it's incredible. The ocean, rolling hills, mountains, canyon roads, amazing weather. But where are you going over the weekend? If you want something genuinely different, you're looking at hours of driving or even taking a flight. Los Angeles to San Francisco is like 6 hours by car. And you're still in good old California, a bit cooler and foggier, but still California. New Zealand, breathtaking, obviously. Literally Middle Earth, right? Some of the most beautiful nature on the planet, period. But you're at the bottom of the world. Want to experience a different culture, a different country maybe? Good luck.
If I take one more step, it'll be the farthest away from home I've ever been.
Even Australia is a 4-hour flight away, and you're still in the middle of nowhere. But what about northern Spain? Because in many ways it's similar to California and New Zealand, but with the convenience of actually being on the European continent. Still, you have a similar problem. You want to experience the Mediterranean? That's a 9-hour drive. France is 4 hours away, and you're still just gonna be on the same Atlantic coast. Portugal, same thing. And if you want to visit the capital of Madrid, that's a 4.5-hour drive. So then I realized what I actually want is not just one beautiful place. What I want is to be at one beautiful place and also have access. The feeling like the world is within reach, optionality, the ability to go somewhere completely different on a random Saturday without all that logistical hassle. And most beautiful countries around the world completely lack this. They're like these beautiful islands. Stunning, but isolated and expensive to leave. Well, this is where Slovenia comes in. Because most countries give you one thing, and Slovenia gives you everything within 2 hours. So you know how in Grand Theft Auto or any open world video game,
Oh shit, here we go again.
the best map isn't necessarily the biggest one. It's the most dense one. The one where you can drive for a few minutes and be in a completely different environment. A lot of different towns and geographical features condensed into a small area. That gives it sort of a sense of adventure, even though it may be pretty small. Well, Slovenia is that map, but in real life. Because the entire country is roughly 250 kilometers from one end to another. You can drive across it in like almost under 3 hours. And in that small space and few hours of driving, you can see or experience a lot. In the north and northwest, you have the Alpine Region. Ski resorts are all over the place during winter, and hiking or mountain bike trails through the summer. And even though the Alps in Slovenia aren't the highest, the scenery is actually world class, and people travel from all over the world to experience it. Still in that same region, the world famous Lake Bled, a lake with an island in the middle, and that island has a church on it. As if that's not enough, there's a 1,000-year-old castle sitting on a cliff in the background overlooking the entire lake, and the entire place has mountains in the background. So yeah, I mean, you can't make this shit up. Well, here in Slovenia is just where people spend their Sunday afternoon, no matter where in Slovenia they're from, really. Less than 30 minutes away, another lake, less famous, but in my opinion, way cooler. Lake Bohinj. Right next to that lake, a hidden 78-meter waterfall called Savica. Well, actually, one day I randomly found it while I was looking for parking around the lake, and I totally forgot it was there, and it turned out to be the best day ever. Like, it totally made my day. And stuff like that happens all the time here in Slovenia. Anyway, now go slightly southwest from Lake Bohinj and you reach the most breathtaking river in the Alps, maybe even the entire world. River Soča. People have like trouble processing it when they see it for the first time. Is this like impossible neon, a green, turquoise, I don't know, crystal clear river running through a gorge in the Alps? It's insane. Now keep in mind, that's all in a space that's no longer than 40 kilometers, and that's just like the top of the iceberg in this region, because countless more breathtaking hidden places exist that sometimes even us locals forget about. Further 30 kilometers southwest, the landscape completely changes and you arrive at a region called Goriška Brda. Place looks and feels exactly like Tuscany, and I'm not doing some tourism pitch here, guys. I'm just describing what's there. Terraced vineyards, hilltop villages, farmhouses made out of stone, incredible world-class wineries. The variety we just got from a 30-minute drive from the Alps is just absurd. That alone is already impressive. I don't know, should I keep on going? Because just an hour south from there, we reach the Mediterranean part of Slovenia, the Adriatic Sea. Yeah, I know, it's a short coast at just 47 kilometers, but it's beautiful. The sound of crickets all summer long, olive trees, the smell of pine, you get the vibe. Especially famous is the town Piran, with its narrow stone streets and a main square that could literally pass for Venice. Now, to show you guys how close all of that actually is here, that's a famous photo taken from a beach in Croatia. You can see the town Piran and the Slovenian Alps in the background. And it's all accessible within like 1 or 2 hours of driving, depending on where exactly you want to go. And that was just a few highlights from the northwest and southwest region of Slovenia. But what about the rest? Well, 30 to 40 minutes eastern from the coast, you have a region called Karst. And again, coming from the Mediterranean, the landscape changes. Now, this region is special, not flashy by any means, but more like subtle, harsh, and actually pretty weird. Because most of it is limestone, the whole landscape is completely uneven. It's cracked, sometimes sharp, and full of rocks. It definitely feels dry and almost hostile, not like a desert, but definitely very different from the Alpine and Mediterranean regions that are less than 40 kilometers away. Now, what this region lacks above the surface, it most definitely makes up for with what's below it, because it is home to thousands of underground cave systems, like the famous Postojna and Škocjan caves. Not gonna lie, they're pretty sick. And almost 60% of Slovenia is covered in forest, one of the highest rates in Europe. And that's especially evident in the south and southeast parts, which again are different. Pretty big areas, mostly covered in forest, like tens of kilometers of forest with no end in sight. And it's also home to some of the few primeval forests left in Europe. Like even bears live there, like actual big brown bears in the middle of Europe. I think also wolves and lynx. So it's like a little part of wild Canada, but in Slovenia. Pretty cool, you know, diversity and stuff. Then finally, the northeast, which geographically is the most normal part of Slovenia, I'd say. And in some ways, it's very similar to the western region of Goriška Brda, but lacks that Mediterranean vibe, if you know what I mean. But it still has those rolling hills full of vineyards and old villages where time literally stood still. Like, I literally live in one of those villages, so I don't know. This region is also full of mineral water springs. The water comes out the ground and you can catch it with like a bottle or something and you can drink it, and it's supposed to be pretty healthy, so that's cool. And that's also the reason why there's like a thermal spa resort on every corner here. Like literally, it's like one of the biggest tourisms here in Slovenia. So now there's a lot more regions here with different features, and between those you have these transitional regions that look like the mix of the regions they are connecting. And to be honest, there's just not enough time right now to get into all of that. But just remember, all of that is in a country so small that you can experience, or well, at least see it in a couple of hours of driving at most, no matter where in Slovenia you are. Now show me a country where that's also possible. Don't worry, I'll wait. Okay, so now we know that Slovenia is pretty diverse, right? Geographically and geologically, with all regions tightly packed together. But it gets even better, because Slovenia isn't just dense, it's also insanely well positioned. It's quite literally on the crossroads between the Balkan region, the Mediterranean, Eastern Europe, and Western Europe. Everything you could possibly want, and for some reason isn't in Slovenia, is in reach just a step away outside of it. Just look at some of the amazing cities around it. Zagreb, Budapest, Venice, Trieste, Vienna, Bratislava, all available by car in less than one afternoon. And in any direction you go, the vibe and culture is different, because Slovenia is literally in the center of it all. Pretty much the opposite of living somewhere like Berlin or Paris, where in every direction there's like 3 hours of the same thing, because these countries are just so damn big. Let me give you a few more examples. Let's say you find the small Slovenian coast too boring. Okay, it doesn't matter, because right next to it you have Croatia with like the craziest coast ever. Just pick an island and go there. A trip to Italy that most people around the world dream about their whole life? Yeah, here in Slovenia it's like a weekend getaway. You just sit in your car and you go. Not enough ski resorts in Slovenia? No problem, because the Dolomites in Italy are right there. And so is Austria, with some of the best slopes in the entire world at your doorstep. Just again, sit in your car and go. And because of the EU, there's no borders, no waiting, no passport checks, no customs. You just drive again. It's like switching counties in Texas, man. It's literally so small over here. Then there's the airport problem that people like to talk shit about. You see, Slovenia only has one main airport, and although it's kinda okay and functioning just fine, it does lack some important international flight connections. But again, because of Slovenia's small size and depending on where exactly you are, other and much bigger international airports are closer to you than the one in Slovenia. Venice, Zagreb, Vienna, even Graz. So if there isn't a flight directly from Slovenia, you still got options. Some of them maybe even closer. Okay, we know that other countries are well positioned and give you a lot of access as well, right? Like Austria and Switzerland, for example. Well, kinda. First of all, they lack the diversity of Slovenia. They are mostly Alps and also don't have direct access to the Mediterranean coast. And because of their bigger size, your ability to travel and have multiple parts of Europe somewhat close depends on your exact location in that country. And then there's these other diverse countries in Europe. Italy, France, Spain. Like, these countries are amazing too. They have it all as well, right? But at what cost? They're all more than 15 times larger than Slovenia. So you get this diversity, but spread out like crazy. If you want to see them, it literally becomes like this whole big project. Are you in Napoli and want to go to the Alps? That's an 8-hour drive. Are you in Paris and want lunch on the Mediterranean coast? Same thing. There is just nothing casual about this. So yeah, in most of these countries, it matters a lot where exactly you are. In Slovenia, it doesn't. So while there definitely are better single places, regions, or towns with better positioning than Slovenia, there most definitely isn't a single whole country that has better geographical position with that much diversity in such a small area. If you find it, I'll buy you a beer, I promise. I think by now you all start to understand that what Slovenia has going on is actually pretty special. Now we need to talk about something harder to quantify, but just as important, the culture. Because pretty nature doesn't really mean anything if the people kind of suck. Again, just like geographically, culturally, a mix of everything that surrounds it. To the south, Croatia, Bosnia, Serbia, incredible people, incredible food, hospitality, addictive fun. To the north, Austria, Germany, reliable, efficient, organized, prosperous. A system that actually works. But unfortunately, it's as spontaneous as a spreadsheet. Slovenia sits right in the middle. Warm, kind, with hospitality, and actually a genuine desire to enjoy life. But at the same time, Slovenia has the work ethic, cleanliness, and a functioning system. So the chaos of the south is tamed just enough, and the stiffness of the north is loosened just a bit. Every region even has somewhat different cultures, which are mostly influenced by the closest neighboring country. And this makes for very interesting dialect changes throughout the country. Just like the nature and scenery change fast, so does the dialect. Take someone from the capital of Ljubljana and put them in conversation with someone from like Murska Sobota, and they just might have genuine trouble understanding each other. So, the people in general, good, productive, quietly accomplished, that still know how to enjoy themselves, I'd say.
Drunken Slovenians.
And that's exactly what I meant with life per square kilometer, because you get a little bit of everything, a mix of almost all geographical and geological features you can imagine, a mix of multiple different cultures, and on top of that, perfect positioning to explore what is outside of Slovenia with convenience. All of that in just 20,000 square kilometers. Alright guys, look, I've been making a case here for how Slovenia is the place to be, right? But I gotta say, like, I can see the comments coming. Ha ha ha, I would never live in Slovenia, it's such a poor country. Ha ha ha, Slovenia is poor, ha ha, you guys suck. I get it, okay? Like, it was a member of the former Yugoslavia, and it sort of gets a bad rep because of that, like all the former countries do. And it's not necessarily true, you know, we evolved. Look, the economy here is solid. Far from spectacular, but solid. If you're like purely into profit, making money, maximum earning potential, and conquering the world, all of that stuff, then no, Slovenia most likely isn't where you want to live.
Well, what color's your Bugatti?
If that's what you want, you can go to Switzerland, USA, Dubai, whatever. However, all the foreign people I know that visited Slovenia were like very positively surprised by the quality of life here. I'll try to explain it in terms of cars. Take Switzerland, for example. It's like a 911. Incredible machine, costs a fortune, and maintenance alone will bankrupt you. In other words, you need deep pockets, man. Now, Germany is a Mercedes E-Class. Diesel, mostly these days. Respectable, reliable, well-engineered, but still nothing really out of the ordinary. And Slovenia, well, let's say Slovenia is like a really nice Golf or a Passat, you know, whatever you prefer. It's a good car. Works reliably, and you can actually afford to use it. You're not spending your life savings just keeping the engine running. And that's kind of like where Slovenia is at when it comes to the economy and income situation. So we're not super rich, we're not poor, we're somewhere in the middle. You know, we could be rich. We're like that underachieving high school student that everybody says has a lot of potential, but somehow is just like not working out for him. We're that kid. And don't forget that every country in the world has its own set of challenges. It's either healthcare, cost of living, or just social situations that haven't been figured out yet. Slovenia doesn't have those problems to the same degree, mostly due to its size. You know, it's really hard to have the same scale of problems with just 2 million people living over here. But could the taxes be lower? Yeah. Salaries higher? Absolutely. But I have never ever met anyone from anywhere that told me their country is perfect. I don't think that person exists, to be honest, because we are always comparing a real place to an imaginary ideal in our heads. And that's always going to be a losing game. So compare Slovenia to other real places and it actually holds up very well. I want to go back to something I said in the beginning. I've lived here most of my life, I've left to Germany for 5 years and then came back. And it wasn't until I was gone that I realized what we have here. When you grow up somewhere, it just becomes the default background, right? The mountains, the lakes, it's all just there. And you stop seeing it, you stop appreciating it. But when you move somewhere else and have to take a plane just to get a change of scenery, that's when it kicks in really hard. You realize that having this diversity, beauty, and access is simply just not normal. It's genuinely rare. And look, Slovenia is not for everyone. If you're chasing money, the biggest city, popping bottles, Lamborghinis in your garage, then go somewhere else. That's like a completely legitimate life choice. But if what you want is a real life, a life where you can open your door on a Saturday and be uncertain what adventure you'll have today, where the food is good, people are decent, streets are clean, where you can breathe clean air, drink clean water, and safely sleep at night, then Slovenia just may be for you. Not the richest, the most powerful, or famous, just the most life per square kilometer. Thank you for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next video.